for the monitor to load, please. In a much better mood today. Got some joy to share, and I've got some serious advice for you. Not financial advice. I have more in common with Aleister Crowley than Warren Buffett, but I have figured some stuff out. And for example, this one cryptocurrency that we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. Not much because it's not the subject of the live stream, but $24 8 days ago was $10,000, and it's going to do it again. So the hackers that destroyed our lives, we are already almost halfway back to where we were before that happened. So, and it's funny, last time we were talking about whether or not I should get rid of the Baphomet poster. I honestly didn't mean to be sitting right in front of it, not trying to hide it. But I did get some hate mail and stuff over this poster. I can't help where I'm from. I drew that in a past life. That came from me. So, I mean, I'm sorry if you don't understand it, but trust me, it's not evil. And one of the things I'm always trying to explain on this channel that's super important to understand is that most of the most powerful tools that we have available to us in terms of empowering our consciousness and transforming our consciousness have been demonized intentionally. And so, Baphomet and the mystery schools and, Aleister Crowley, who did definitely have a dark side, but what he said about that is that, all of these prophets did, and we're just really unrealistic about that subject. In fact, we've done ourselves a great disservice by discrediting a lot of the holy men and prophets and, those type of people because they were human and had faults in the modern era, because we're able to see those things. So I want to show you guys something. Can you see that? Check it out. I have a bunch of them. You know what that is? It's Morel Esculenta. I don't know. My Latin's probably terrible. They're Morel Mushrooms, and so last year I was really sad because a friend of mine sent me a bunch of pictures of them and was talking about foraging in Colorado or California, and so I went, or I said, I wish we could find morels here, because I was under the impression that they didn't grow here. And then the next day I went out and we were walking up this hill we walk every day, and Enrique says, "Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me." And there was a little morel, and we went around the side, they're everywhere. So it happened again this year. I was like, man, I wonder if we'll find those morels again. The next morning, our friend Brandon had posted on Facebook a picture of morels. Went out to the spot, they're all there again. So, and then these guys have been everywhere too. And I don't know if you can see how blue, I ate a few of them tonight. They're Pinellas cyanescin, super potent medicine. So, man, what is everybody doing this Monday night? We have one more person now. That's good. Look! I just showed them, but the morels, found morels. So what should we talk about first? Should we get into the metaphysical stuff? I mean, basically what happened is today I was thinking about the last couple of live streams, and a couple of things that were important kind of slipped my mind, and so that's why I called it Metaphysical Morsels, because I just wanted to kind of touch on some of these things that I missed. And one of them was the Native American live stream appreciation, Indigenous Appreciation Day instead of Thanksgiving. I was going to tell some of my favorite experiences with Native American magic, which was really, yo man, what's up, was really a fulfilling experience for me, because not only do I have Blackfeet heritage, when I left from Virginia as like a young not brain dead, but a young redneck with no world experience, one of the things that I hope to discover, doing a lot better, Mr. Charles, as you are well aware. You should join us in the Sheba XXX Telegram after this live stream, because there's going to be a giveaway, and they're super generous, and I think it's a really good project. They actually seem to care about people. Like, I really like them. I don't really see much point in meme coins, and I almost sold the other day to put it all in Eagle Eye, because we know Eagle Eye is going to blow up and make everyone rich. But I just like that guy so much at this point that I just couldn't help but leave the money in there. So, and then it did go up today, so that was cool. It doubled, I think. So at any rate, we were talking about the Native American magic, and so when I left the East Coast, I really wanted to see, like, is because I had read anthropological reports of like Native Americans being able to make it rain and boiling water, and of course the ayahuasqueros accounts in like One River by Wade Davis, and other accounts of like legit magic actually happening in front of white people that couldn't believe it was happening, right? Like not predisposed to believe in that kind of stuff. They're scientists, and sort of almost witnessing it against their will. And so I did. I saw weather commanding, which was extraordinary. I felt like I had done it myself eventually with my band. I think music is a really easy way to sort of plug into that current and to be able to sort of constrain electromagnetic vibrations, right? To inform the chaotic energy of the universe to order. And so, did you see these, Mr. Charles? Did you hear? I'm so stoked, man. We're gonna white wine and this hard cheese and cream, and we got some mead. So stoked about that. But so what I'm saying though is that I had heard about all of this Native American magic lore, and I really wanted to see it myself. So the first thing I think I saw was the weather, the wind, when the Hawaiian shaman said, "May the wind blow to confirm the power of our prayer," and the wind's all right. And then there was a rain dance, and it poured, and there were no clouds before or after, to the extent that when I saw the puddles in the parking lot, I was like, I had to look at the puddles to make sure it actually happened, because no clouds, pouring rain, no clouds, like, but there's puddles in the parking lot. So just crazy. So I got what I asked for. But then on a personal level, and this one's going to be kind of hard to explain, but I had this Danae friend that I've talked about a few times on this channel that I didn't really know very well. Eventually we did become friends, which is really difficult in this part of Colorado. Natives are not very receptive. And trust me, saying that you have, even if it's true, a quarter blood or whatever, it's not going to win you any favor. In fact, most of the time it's just better not to say it at all, trust me. And so she was the one, if you guys know the story, where when Golden Light Eagle called and gave us directions to come to New Mexico to meet about the Star Tribes, he said, bring your little Indian friend. And I was like, who is he talking about? And the phone rang, and it was her. Like as soon as I hung up the phone, and I just knew, I was like, do you want to go to this thing with me? Like, we'd never done anything together. It wasn't about, she bought weed from me, basically, legally, but she did. And so she's like, sure, and she turned out to like live on the way there and stuff. It was all really trippy. And so she was at my house a few weeks later, and I had been going through a lot of processes with the Navajo down there, some really surprising stuff. Like I was in the middle of the peak, I guess, of my spiritual awakening, what I call the Phoenix process. And I was very conscious of the fact that I was like walking between worlds. And it was just, it was very challenging and beautiful, and fine line between sanity and insanity, the whole 9 yards. And so walking along one day, and the Night Horse, the famous Navajo shaman, it turned out, or roadman is a better word, peyote roadman, just saw me and said, a white man walking between worlds, you don't see that every day. And so things like that were happening quite a bit. And so the night after, Night Horse invited me to, or Night Horse recognized that, and we ended up talking a whole lot throughout the night. The next day, I ran into another Navajo elder, and he was going to invite me to a peyote ceremony, and there were other natives with him, younger ones, that did not like it. They're like, we don't know why you waste your breath on these people, they can't understand. And I actually didn't go because they were so like murderously hostile. I just couldn't imagine consuming peyote in a teepee with people that just wished I wasn't there and maybe even wanted to kill me. So I didn't go, and I regret it. I should have gone and maybe, tried to prove myself and extended a hand across the line and say, hey, I'm not actually all white anyways, but white people are not all like that. It's just, and a lot of white people don't like those white people as much as everyone else, and it's not white people, it's modern people. The truth is that what people hate about those white people, there are black people that are like that, there are Hispanic people. It just is a matter of indoctrination, really. It's not about being white. It's about being brainwashed. Right? So anyways, so I had just experienced this and I was still a little bit ruffled by it, I guess. Partly because, my grandmother was Blackfeet, and here I am trying to kind of integrate with the Navajo people, and I'm getting all this racism, and I just, I was kind of aggravated. It was fresh in my mind. And so she came over, and at first I was having like just private thoughts about it all, and some of it was kind of directed at her, like this kind of like antagonistic, like, like conversations in my head almost, as if she was the antagonist native, and it was like she heard me, like she would say stuff that indicated that she actually could hear me thinking this stuff. And so I started really pushing it, like I thought something sexual at her, which I never had done, and it wasn't really even sincere, but she cleared her throat, her eyes got real big, and I was like, whoa, man. And that's the only reason I did it. I was just trying to provoke, like, to see, is she really like listening to me right now? And so she looks at me and she goes, I think you should go out in the backyard right now and just have a look. And I knew that some shit was going to be, something was going to be there. And so I go outside and I open the glass doors, and the neighbors' horses and like all these birds and shit, like all the animals that seemed like in the valley had just come over to like our adobe fence and were just like staring at me, all of them, like. And I knew in that moment that she had done that we had been telepathically connected, and she was totally aware of it. And I think the last thing that I said was some kind of sort of like ego-y kind of thing, like, like my magic is just as strong, white or not. And she's like, oh yeah, go look outside. And there's all the animals, and I was like, wow, that is just nuts. So anyways, that was the story I forgot for the Indigenous people live stream. So I don't have a ton of time tonight, and part of this big part of this the YouTube channel's point is not just a venue for me to tell stories and teach people about consciousness and all of these things that I talk about, but also to empower us and to deal with pragmatic stuff, because we have to balance the pentagram, as they say in the Western mystery tradition, in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and Freemasonry. And the idea is that we have the 5 points of the pentagram, and there's spirit at the top, and then we have the elements that all correspond to, like, water in the emotional state, air in the intellect, and then earth and finances and stuff. And historically, we've had a serious problem because people that pursue spiritual enlightenment realize that all of this bad stuff is coming with capitalism and money, and so they reject all of that. And so what we have is no power to influence, really. I mean, we do, because our consciousness, as it elevates, right, the laws of the universe, like entrainment, insist that the other cycles of like type are going to, move with it. And everything entrains, cycles entrain with the highest cycling, right? So it's not true what I'm saying exactly, but on a material plane, macroscopic level, it really does take money to have any kind of influence, and also it really is not good for our consciousness, for our creativity. If we're struggling, if we're stressed out, it's just no good. And it's something that I've always taken for granted, because I'm sort of talented enough and intelligent enough that, in California as an outlaw, there's money everywhere. I didn't have to be dishonest even. I could just get a lot of money and then use it and then just whatever. And I just never really thought about, doing anything lasting with it, because it just didn't really make sense to me to hoard or anyways, and I'm kind of justifying bad habits, and that's what I'm trying to correct. And so I want to share something with you. We were hacked, as most of you know, a couple of weeks ago, and we lost everything after years and years of struggling, and we have not totally recovered, but we have almost recovered. And so what we really need to do right now is stay out of that cryptocurrency, just like before, right? We're like back exactly where we were a few weeks ago. So, if you guys have made gains from my calls, or you just want to support the channel, there are a bunch of different avenues that you can do that through in the chat and in the description. And even today I sent some crypto to someone that I'm trying to help. I'm counseling people for free. If you can afford to pay me, pay me. If you don't need anything from me and you support what I do, please, because if any of you guys, for example, don't know how to set up MetaMask, you don't know how to stay safe, you don't have any money, I'll help you as much as I can for free, and just ask that if you can contribute something, you do. And honestly, people will charge you thousands of dollars for the same information that I'm only going to offer you. Don't get me wrong, if I turn on Zoom and I think you're just trying to get you know what I mean? If you're not one of us, I probably won't help you. But as long as you're, a person that is part of this collective movement to expand consciousness and to become part of the antidote to the atom bomb, I'll do what I can to help you to make financial progress. We can't really afford to be sending people crypto right now, but people have done it for me, and so to the much lesser extent that we're capable, I pass it on, and I do the same thing with counseling people that are having trouble and stuff. So if you can afford to support us, please do, because the first of the month is coming up, and it's really important that we don't touch our investments in these. And also join us in the, damn it, you guys, hold on. Let me get the Telegram and I'll put it in the chat right now, because there's a giveaway, and it's just good to get to know the communities if you're considering investing. So let me get this. Shiba Triple X is the name of this. It is a meme coin, but these guys are really cool, and I'm really glad that I found this project. I think eventually they're going to do very well. Eagle Eye is the name of the one that I'm really pushing at the moment, just because it's an anti-scam token, and it is definitely, absolutely going to continue to grow and make people money. So Eagle Eye token, here, I'll also put that in the chat. Eagle Eye token.com. Sorry, I am tripping a little bit. Every time I eat those Pinellas cyanescin, they turn out to be stronger than I expect them to, and I never learn. And so that's the thing, you guys. We have to create a movement that's actually capable of sustaining itself. We have to be impenetrable to the kind of criticisms that were levied at the hippies very easily. And that's why, a lot of times people think that I'm being negative, or that I'm trying to pop people's balloons. And really what I'm trying to do is for one thing, offer the stuff that's not available everywhere already, and everyone knows that, the kind of toxic positivity atmosphere that's being created. If you're critical of anything, people tend to just fucking, cancel you. And I don't think that's healthy. And so I think that, we really have to take responsibility for the kind of narratives that we repeat. We have to really be willing to be critical of our own thought processes, to not become attached to our ideas, to make sure that we've given due process to our ontological evaluations, and before we are willing to believe anything, we have to be aware that subjectivity is not reliable, and a voice in your head is just a voice in your head, even if it's proven to be correct. And so I think that, to create sort of a spiritual community that is financially literate, that is scientifically reasonable, that is skeptical and critical of anything that's presented to it. It's almost like the normal mainstream narrative, but with the fifth element. That kind of approach. And I think that our responsibility to that is huge. And so, that's why I'm not really quick to embrace channeling or anything that can turn out to be just subjective gobbledygook. I've experienced it to a degree that is absolutely remarkable, but I also think that partly, as I said in the last live stream, because the profit motive has become so deep in the spiritual community, and also because you guys, people are not reasonable. I recently had an experience with a longtime supporter where I just asked him to explain what he meant because I knew that there was really no substance to what he was saying and that he wouldn't be able to say anything. And it's just this caused like a temper tantrum, an ego temper tantrum. He deleted his support, and so it isn't easy to go around telling the truth. And I sympathize with you guys, but one of the things that I'm really encouraging Coco's BCX, yeah, I have no idea what that is. But yeah, check it out, guys. I mean, it's good to check stuff out. But anyways, what I'm saying is that I can't remember what the fuck I was saying. You know, why are these fucking things right here? And actually, that's not really true. They do a lot to support your memory, and I think we all know about like the extra neuronal growth and stuff. And I really think that Morels too, aren't those crazy things? It's just such a bizarre, and they don't work quite the same way as other mushrooms, to the extent that some mycologists have actually suggested reclassifying them as sort of like a sea sponge type of thing, like the sea sponge of the land. And honestly, I think that's what 1111 is telling us. Like, there is a correspondence. Everything is reflection. So if we don't know where the sea sponge of the land is, there is one, and we haven't identified it. And I would say that the Morel probably is the correct candidate for that post. So, in the description I said to bring your questions because I don't have that much of a plan tonight. Honestly, I'm mostly here because it's almost the end of the month. I'm trying to push for support so that we can recover from these hackers that nearly destroyed us. I am so stoked that we were able to find another microcap that has exploded. I mean, we're 10x, you guys, and Eagle, if you bought it at launch, $24 is now $10,000. And that was 8 days ago. So this is one of those situations that I'm sharing with you for absolutely for free. I don't know, this guy said this other thing will pump much harder, but I don't know how, what he's basing that on. I mean, we're at 500,000 microcap or something, and 10x and within a week would be easy. So, if you're not taking my calls after what's happened, recently with Cody and everything else, and I'm still into Cody, but not as much. I had some direct experiences with the team, and I think they're fine. But what's up, man? I'm way more bullish on Eagle Eye and Shebax. Again, you guys, I'll put the Telegram also. The Telegram and the link to Eagle Eye Token are in there, and they're not paying me to promote, by the way. I'm just doing it because I want to help you guys, and it helps me if you buy them because my wallet balance will increase. So you guys have anything you want me to talk about? I mean, basically, this is like, how like PBS every once in a while will do like a pitch for support. Like, help us, we're publicly funded and people don't care. And it's sad, because PBS was the only thing that was like really worthy and honest. And they were always like struggling to pay the bills. So what's up, you guys? I mean, nobody has any. I mean, you guys are always like asking me stuff, and tonight when I'm trying to like have a clean slate to just interact with people, nobody has shit to say. But yeah, I mean, what I was saying before, I guess, is that no, I'm not saying you're wrong either. I'm just saying like and I don't know what is. Well, I'll look it up. We don't need to get too much into it right now. Ingvolik. So, this is something I've been thinking a lot about, like how can we actually create a movement that is meaningful? Like, what do we actually have to do? And I think that, what the entire historical process is, really, when you look at the fundamental mistakes of human history. The primary lesson is that humans don't learn many lessons from history. We just tend to allow these patterns to repeat themselves. And I think that those patterns repeat themselves because what they really are is an expression of the wiring under the board that is patterns that just repeat automatically. And unless consciousness imposes a deviation and changes the specifics of these patterns, then they will just repeat on automatic. And so, in our lives, we notice these smaller patterns. The Mayans, of course, had mapped out these longer patterns. And if we just look at even American history, you can see the expression of repeating patterns. No, I was not afraid to try mushrooms for the first time. In fact, speaking of repeating patterns, I one of the reasons that I'm so convinced that there is some sort of universal consciousness that we can establish a relationship with, right? Like, I was having this conversation with somebody earlier tonight and saying that the reason that people can't just charge to teach you to be a shaman is because it doesn't work that way. Like for me, my process has been about learning to interpret this dialogue with the universe since I was a child. It's not like it just all of a sudden started at some point or something. And I don't know that can just be taught. Also, I think that if you're trying to be a healer, efficacy as a healer comes from experience. As Terence McKenna said, the shaman isn't a madman, he's a madman who has healed himself. And so the reason that I am able to help people put themselves back together is because I was totally disintegrated and I was able to reassemble myself from the sand, and so that's why I know how to do it for other people. And so ever since I was a child, I've always known like where to look and what things were going to be tools. The first time I heard my parents fighting because my dad had taken LSD, which now of course in retrospect, it's like, why would that make my mom angry? Like she knew better too. I think she just felt like that herd conformity pressure. Like we have children, we have to become normal, and it's of course not possible once you've taken the blue pill. There's no going back. But I heard them say LSD, and I was set up in bed. I was like 6 years old or something, and I was like, that's going to be important. That's one of my like main tools in my life's mission. Like I knew that then, and it's been true of all of this stuff. Like Carl Jung, for example, I had no idea that he was the guy that coined synchronicity, the word, that it came from him. But I always, like every time I heard his name, my ears would perk up, and if I was at the library, like I would see his books and I would think, oh yeah, I need to read Jung, I need to get around to that. And another element of this is that it seems as if the universal mind will kind of wait until the timing is right, because it was actually better for me that I experienced synchronicity and that I had, come to some kind of understanding of archetypes through my own processes and interactions with the universal mind, rather than having it planted in my head, because I'm so critical and analytical that once I started to experience synchronicities, if I had already heard of it, then I would be suspicious that it had just been planted in my head, which is the proper approach, of course. We have to consider these things. Be not too eager to redeem the promises, right? I think that's from the Book of the Law or something, and basically what it means is that like you cannot be I'll talk about San Pedro Resin. We cannot be too overeager to believe these ideas that we like, because it's not healthy to integrate faulty components to our ontological structure, right? It must be made of things that are real. It is not true that it's good to find things that you feel serve you and embrace them because they're fluffy delusions and you've lost your matrix mind, you know what I mean? And so you need something else to believe. Don't do that, be in a state of flux and be in the mystery, and that's do not fear knowledge that doesn't pander to your prejudices. Don't be a puerile, pusillanimous punk. You have to be willing to. It's not about looking for the answer. It's about facing the answer. And I think that spirituality has become like Xanax for a lot of people. It's a bunch of like sugar-coated lies that make it easier for you to navigate reality. And there's always some truth in it. Sugar is actually sweet. But you know what I mean? Like that's one of the traps that we have to avoid falling into. And that's what, this poster that bothers people so much is really representative of that kind of approach of being able to really just confront nature and realize that it's not a unicorn farting fairy dust. It's something else entirely. So you want to talk about the San Pedro resin, understanding the overall potency. And so it's really simple. It's just once you have prepared the brew, you're just evaporating water off until there is mostly, I'm not really a chemist. I don't understand what is so gluey and weird about San Pedro resin. I guess it has something to do with the cactusy nature of it. But so you're cooking all of the water out, and so you're concentrating the alkaloids. And so it's not like a mescaline extraction, because there are actually a lot of different compounds in the San Pedro. And there are different ratios of those compounds, and that creates a different experience. So every cactus is going to be different, and the potency, of course, is going to depend on the original material and how much water you cook out. So you can cook it down until it's like waterless, and then I don't know, 5 grams or so. Do you remember, Enrica, how much of the cactus paste we ended up having to eat? Was it 10 grams? I don't even remember. No? Yeah, 10 grams, yeah. So 10 grams, but that sounds wrong. So anyways, the potency is going to vary a lot between different cactuses. So there's really no rule of thumb that's going to help you much. Because there's so much variation. Even within a species, it's not very consistent. And so it's just going to be a lot more potent because it's a lot more dense. That's all just by weight. One tip that I can give you too, though, the only reason that I do that, to concentrate it down into the hard resin, is for storage purposes, really. Because it'll ferment in the fridge, and it doesn't really matter. You can cook it. I travel a lot though, so it makes it easier to just concentrate it. Then you don't have to worry about keeping it refrigerated. And then if you eat it, it's not really the best thing, because you'll notice you'll poop out little pellets of San Pedro because it's not super digestible. So it's better to actually rehydrate it in water anyways. But at the same time, you can make it very, very small, a little bit in shot glass. So I don't know what else to say about it. As far as like traditional brews, it is traditionally made that way sometimes. The paste is not necessarily a modern innovation. Anybody else have any other questions? I have about 15 minutes because we want to prepare our Morel dish and then head over to the Shiba XXX Telegram. You guys should join us. Come buy some Shiba XXX. You're at least not going to get rugged. I can tell you that. And these guys are super dedicated and they're nice people. So if you're looking for some cryptocurrency to get into, it's definitely, I think, safe. I can't imagine them burning us at this point. That one in Eagle Eye, you guys, if you need some money and you have very little, these are extraordinary opportunities to get in when a good project is really, really low and it's trustworthy. I also like it because the Eagle Eye dev and the Shibex Wild Shiba dev know each other. So I feel like they're part of a community of developers that have been scammed themselves and they don't want to see it happen to people anymore. So, come join us in our battle to get back at these motherfucking hackers. I mean, that was the worst thing ever, man. My family's been struggling for years. We finally get ahead, and it's taken from us twice, like in a matter of 40 hours. It was insane, and it does feel really good to have developed a skill set to be able to just immediately find another project that performs even better than Cody, and now we're just already. I mean, I wouldn't. Let's see if it's gone up since the. Yes, it has actually gone up $10,000 the market cap since we started the live stream even. So it's really looking good. All right. So. Metaphysical morsels for psychedelic Jedi mystery school adepts is only. Yeah, and you guys know where the Invisible College is? Would you like directions? It is true that even the Masons say that there are Masons that have never stepped foot into a lodge. Solar initiation is definitely a thing. There is nothing but light in the entire universe. There isn't even light and matter because matter is made of light. So all of the information, all of the experiences, all of the expressions that indwell in light are all of the constituent parts of your consciousness, your body. Oh, Mr. Charles, you're not going to be there. That's fine, because it'll be easier for me to win money if there's less people, honestly. But I told him that I would. I told him that I would invite all you guys, and I do mean it. Like they give away like NFTs out of the guy's pocket that are worth a good bit of money. I mean, you guys should come to the Telegram. It's definitely worth it, and that's what I'm here for, man. Not just to like offer my metaphysical experiences and whatnot, but to encourage you to take advantage of the fact that Babylon is falling. The empires last for 250 years, and the United States is 246 years old. So, with the birth of a new order, of course, there's going to be chaos. There has to be some disintegration. There has to be space in order to allow for movement so that the constituent parts can reconfigure themselves and become something that they were not before. This is why the breaking down in the psyche before a new order of soul emerges, and this is why it happens to civilizations. And pride always comes before a fall. The same laws that come to bear in the evolutionary process of a single individual apply just as much to a collective, such as an entire civilization. And the arrogance accelerates the fall, of course. You can only stand. This is why sociopaths tend to move around so much, right? Because they burn all their bridges. What is it? I'll light my way with the bridges that I burn. That's like the sociopath methodology in a nutshell. And so the United States has nowhere to go. And it's like, I know a lot about narcissists because I was raised by one, and it's a misunderstanding that narcissists really are just in love with themselves, and that's of course the origin, that mythology, but that's not really, there are a lot of self-hating narcissists. It's not about that, especially when you're talking about narcissistic personality disorder. We're talking about a sophisticated, extremely confusing and sophisticated kind of configuration of psychological aberrations. And so you have selective perception, you have the ability to reconstruct memories. Everyone has that. And the sad thing is that they develop these capacities from trauma because it is the trauma that compelled their mind to figure out how to create selective perception in the first place, right? In order to reconfigure memories, because they've had these traumatic events that compel the MPD. And so if you look at U.S. history and you look at the atrocities and you look at all of this stuff, then you can see how it is that there's a lot of trauma. And what people don't understand is that when you're part of a collective, the trauma that is imposed on certain demographics affects the whole collective, even if it doesn't at the time. Ultimately, it will. Like, why are there buildings burning and shit in the United States, right? Because of slavery, basically. And so there's no escaping the trauma that now has created the collective narcissistic personality disorder, where the entire United States population has to use selective perception and cognitive dissonance and all of this stuff in order to create a sort of faulty ontology that allows it to continue to sort of function. And so the difference between a human narcissist that can run around and get away from people is the United States can't fucking go anywhere. So now when they cry about, oh, terrorist, right, but they kindled the same energy that lights the stars upon their women and children in Japan, enemies, right, not enemies, just people in Japan, had nothing to do with any political conflict, right? And then they're going to say, oh, they flew planes into one of our buildings or whatever, 2 buildings. Like, dude, you guys dropped stars on 2 cities. Like, that's narcissism to, it's like, they will punch someone in the eye and then be like, oh, why did you hit me? It's true. And their excuse, of course, was that Japan attacked them, but they attacked a military installation, not cities full of people. So, and also most of the empire is still, it still stands on the backs of people that are standing up. And it's only a matter of time before that happens. And so, you guys better get out of the way. And I think that turning cryptocurrency into fiat so that you can translate that into actual assets very, very rapidly before you're out of time is essential. And so we just have a few more minutes. If you guys have any questions or anything you want me to address, I'm all about it. But I gotta get on this Morel dish, man. It's gonna be good. And the honey mead, I couldn't believe we found that here. It's just like some foreigners making it, and it was tucked away in the back of one of the little tiendas, and it's the perfect thing for a Morel pasta. So, how does nobody have anything, man? Seriously, 3 minutes, going once, going twice. I mean, the Kabbalah, psychedelics, physics, like, I've been trying to think, like, lately what I've, you guys, I'm always talking shit about Nassim Haramein, and I really am not going to stop because it's just ridiculous. One of the things I've seen coming out of that camp lately is his, he's like, I have intuited that the universe itself is spinning. And it's like, well, gee, all the spinning stuff in the universe didn't... You guys, stop believing people are geniuses that are just clearly stating the obvious. It's just like, was that ever a question? And also, this is where I was going earlier when I lost my train of thought. Maybe I'll just close with this. It's really important to start telling the truth, dude. People don't like it, trust me. My channel had a ton more momentum, and I lost all my female supporters. Let me tell you why. They all deleted their Patreon. All of them. One day. And I was like, what the fuck did I say that pissed off all the women? And then I realized that what I had said was I would not support an anti-abortion law. I wouldn't, because it's your choice. It is. But I'm not really in favor of abortion unless there's, like, really extreme circumstances. And the one thing that has never made sense to me, again, I'm not some right-winger that's in favor of restricting women's rights. I would not advocate that. But I said, my body, my choice is not a legitimate argument, because it's not your body. It's someone else's body that happens to temporarily reside inside of your body. And it's like the cognitive dissonance that caused, even though I wasn't saying, like, I want them to take away your right to decide. I made it very explicitly clear that that's not what I meant. but I was also trying to help them. Like, if you're going to formulate an argument against someone that is looking for holes, that argument actually sucks. And until you actually have, the ability to present your side in a way that actually is convincing, you're not really arguing. You're just yelling shit, and you think you're right, and that's all it is. It's not real. It's just not real. My body, my choice. It's not your body. It's someone else's body inside of your body, right? So, I wasn't trying to tell them that they should make abortions legal. I was just saying you guys need to refine your arguments, because that's not true. That's the whole point of you're not fighting the right wing by saying that. You're just like reinforcing the perception that you are a lunatic left winger very successfully. That's it. So I gotta make dinner now, you guys. I hope that was somehow helpful. I'll be back in a day or two with maybe a music live stream. Take my calls, man. Everybody that's taking my calls has got a lot more money than they did 8 days ago, including me. So, I'm doing my due diligence. If you need my help, reach out to me. If you can pay me for it, do it. If you can't, I will help you, as long as I think you're seeking help for the right reasons. It's that simple. And I encourage all of you to operate in the same way, because you that's really, we were talking about how to reformat a movement so that it's actually meaningful. We have to put these things that the gnosis and psychedelics and all of this stuff teach us in motion. And the thing is that truth is self-substantiating. We don't need to argue with people. All we need to do is act, and then they see the way that things fall into place around us, and there's no way to refute that. Refuting truth will inevitably make a fool of whoever's doing it. And anyone that is not suffering from maleficent influence, indoctrination on their perceptual apparatus can recognize truth. It is not subjective, as people will tell you. And that's, another thing that I can offer you guys. Like, people are super suspicious of the mainstream narrative, but where do you think all the propaganda is? In all these alternative narratives, in the spiritual community. And you guys have to understand that the propagandists that we're dealing with have thousands of years of experience, basically cumulatively. And so it is so insidious and so seamlessly, inextricably intertwined into truth, that until you develop your inner temple and your powers of discernment, you are going to continue to buy into things that are false narratives, that are not real spiritual teachings. You're going to continue to condemn people for trying to give you tools that are the most powerful, that are at our disposal, because that's what you're going to be conditioned to do, right? So, thank you guys so much for watching and your continued support and all of that. I have to go eat because I am fucking starving.